Yo, what's going on, your boy Ghost here, and today we're going to send a comparison video between the Nerfed MP5 and P90. Now, before we get into it, I want to give you guys a big thank you for 700 subscribers. It truly means a lot to me, and we are slowly but surely approaching our goal of 1,000 subscribers. So if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. It would really mean a lot to me. And if you find this video educational or useful, then hit that like button. Now, before we get into it, I want to briefly talk about the MP5 Nerf. So with the recent patch that just came out last week, the MP5 and Grab both received nerfs, but in this video we're going to talk about the MP5, and it didn't really get affected at all. The one attachment, or I guess the one big thing that got hit from the MP5 was the 10mm attachment, and overall the damage range was the thing that actually got nerfed for the MP5. That truly matters. And honestly, in my opinion, I think it's just like the ground nerf, where it takes 1 to 2 more bullets to kill someone at certain ranges, and that's exactly how I feel now. I don't think it got affected that bad. I still think it's a very good weapon, and it's not still like the best secondary in Warzone. And what I mean by secondary is the gun that you use overkill. And I'm not gonna count the MP7 because I will never think that the MP7 is a secondary weapon. I think it's more of a primary weapon, if that makes any sense. But I mean, also, I've made this video in the past, but the reason I'm making it again is because I feel like, you know, my old videos kind of like, I wouldn't say irrelevant, but, you know, with the new nerf, although it's not that big, you know, my old videos kind of outdated now, and I need to make another video. But anyways, let's get into the recoil pattern for the P90. And here we have the base recoil pattern for a P90. And during the making of this video, I went through about 3 different P90 classes, because for some reason the P90 this time around kind of felt, it didn't hit right for me. So, and what I mean by that is, in my last videos of, I guess, the P90 that I made like a month and a half ago, in that time period the weapon felt really great. And here's my main class, by the way, but the weapon felt really good. And this time around the weapon still felt great, but it felt different than last time. And that's not to say that the weapon's bad, however. Don't get it twisted. This, in my opinion, one of the better secondary weapons in the game. And I would definitely recommend it if you don't want to use an MP5. But one of the things that the P90 has over the MP5 is the range. And I think that the P90 has probably the second best range in its SMG category. And because the MP7 is by far, like, even I don't care what statistics say, the MP7 by far has the best range in the SMG category. Like, that's why I consider it the best, or I guess a primary weapon, because in my opinion, an MP7 can be used as an AR or SMG, whatever you need it to be. It's really good. That's why, you know, I don't consider it in secondary talks, because I would never run it like that, because that's just me though. But the P90 is one of those weapons that is very underrated and very underused. And it's not like the Kilo or M13, where it's slowly rising up out of the shadows of, you know, the other meta weapons. It's just kind of stuck in its place. I had a lot of people talk mess about the P90 back in the day. Like, a lot of times I you know, talk to the P90 to my friends. They don't have anything good to say about it. They probably call it like a bad weapon. And if I remember correctly, when the P90 was ground loot, if you guys remember that, in my opinion, at the time it was probably the best weapon you can get off the ground. But a lot of people who would lose gunfights with it would usually refer to calling the weapon terrible, and in reality it's them that just got destroyed. But, you know, they like to take it out on the weapon. And this isn't like a Bison where it shoots marshmallows, or the M13 where it shoots marshmallows. Like, the P90 is, damage-wise, is not bad at all. Like, compared to an MP5, they're about the same. Like, they're not one gun is overly powerful than the other one. They are about the same. Like, if you really, like, I guess, look at it, I don't know statistics again, so feel free to leave it down in the comments. But if you look at it, they don't really feel different. You know, they feel about the same. One doesn't feel overly powerful, and that's just in my opinion. But now we're gonna get into the recoil pattern for the MP5. And here we have the base recoil pattern for an MP5. And one of the things that I've always said about the MP5, and even after the nerf believe is true, is that this weapon has 10 different class setups, and all of them are really good, and all of them are usable. Like, I have my own personal class setup right here, and in the past I used monolithic suppressor, And you know, you could do a lot of things to the MP5 and it would still be very good. Like, I feel like the P90 in terms of attachment wise is kind of like about the same attachments, you know, but the MP5, man, you could change the stock, change the barrel, you could change, like, if you don't want a tech laser or not, maybe a different rear, like, it's just this different, like, just range for the MP5, and it'll still be a good weapon. Now, one of the things that I'm very curious about, and if you guys have the answer, please leave it down in the comment section down below, but is the MP5's damage range got nerfed, and I use a monolithic integral suppressor. So if I was to change that and go back to the monolithic suppressor, how would the damage range be affected? Because I'm pretty sure that the monolithic integral is the same, but I'm not sure. So, you know, if you guys have the answer, if it's actually stronger with the monolithic suppressor, I might go back to it. Because then that'll just make the gun even better. So if you feel like the weapon's a little weaker at range, I would suggest the monolithic, because it feels like it makes sense that the monolithic would make it better in terms of damage over range, but I'm not sure. I don't know the specifics of that. But one thing I gotta say about both these weapons is that the P90, in my opinion, is the closest comparison to the MP5 than any of the other SMGs in its category. And in my last video, I said that the M13 was the closest comparison to the ground than any of the other ARs, and that's how I feel about the P90. I think it's the closest comparison to the MP5. A lot of things are very similar in terms of like damage and fire rate. They're both about the same. I think the MP5 edges the P90 in both. The only like one distinctive like factor that one gun has over the other is the range. I think that the P90 has significantly more range than the MP5. I might be completely wrong on that, but it just feels like that because the P90 doesn't really move no matter what range, and the MP5, which like it kind of does have recoil at certain ranges, and honestly you don't really see it very often, but there is like gunfights that you see where the recoil comes out. Now both of these weapons in my opinion are very like casual friendly, and I guess you could say that for a lot of weapons in Warzone, but like there's some weapons in Warzone that require a lot more skill than others. So like for example an AK-47 has a lot more recoil and it requires more control, and a lot like maybe the average player can't control it, and I can. Like I'm an above average player. Like I'm not even trying to again flex like that, but I can control the AK recoil, and even then I still have recoil. And some people could control it a lot better than me. But you know, for the casual player, it's gonna be harder to control that recoil than to just put on the growl and smoke everybody. I feel like both these weapons don't require, in terms of like shooting it and killing people and controlling it, I don't think it requires that much skill. But the one aspect that the MP5 has that requires skill is movement wise. So I think that the MP5 has the best movement than any other weapon in the game, excluding the knife and the sticks or whatever. But what I mean by this is, when it comes to slide canceling, bunny hopping, and all that, I think that the MP5 has probably the smoothest movement with the smoothest animations, especially with the F-tac stalk. Now, the P90 has that as well, but I feel like the animations are a lot more awkward because of how much bigger the gun is compared to the MP5. And it's not even that big of a weapon, but it's bigger compared to the MP5. And I don't know what it is, but I feel like the animations are a lot more awkward than the MP5. But that doesn't mean that you can't do like slide canceling, but yeah, like it's still a fast weapon because it's SMG. But compared to an MP5, it feels a little bit slower, and the animations, it just feels weird. But you know, you can still do it. But not everyone's gonna be able to do like the movement, the smooth movement with both these weapons. So like that's like the aspect that requires a little bit more skill than, you know, actually killing people or shooting people with it. But overall, I feel like these weapons are pretty casual friendly. So like if you feel like you're struggling in Warzone and you're not running an MP5 or P90, I'd recommend using this as your overkill weapon. Like I feel like it's necessary to have a secondary weapon at times. I do like overkill sniping, but like 90% of the time, like 9 times out of 10, I'm pulling out my overkill class with the SMG, and then the occasional sniper, you know. But like I said earlier in my video, the P90 is one of those weapons that gets overlooked and is very underused throughout Warzone. And again, overall has like from what I've heard, a very negative opinion just about like just in general. And it's really weird too, because I don't even think it's like Obviously it's not the worst SMG in this category, in my opinion. And I don't know why it gets a lot of just negative talk about it. It's very interesting to me. But like in my last comparison videos of the P90, I had a lot of people talk very good about it, and a lot of people said they really like it. So again, I'm gonna ask you guys in this video, how do you guys think the weapon matches up now to the MP5, especially with the nerf? Do you guys think it's better? Do you guys would prefer it more? And in general, what is your overall opinion about the P90? Because like I said earlier, or like I just said, I guess, I received a lot of I guess positive comments about the P90 in my last P90 comparisons, and so I'm curious to see how a lot of people feel about the P90 right now in this meta scale, especially with the people getting nerfed. So anyways, yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you guys later. Peace.